Have you ever been watching TV, maybe Hulu, Netflix, you're really enjoying the show, inching on the edge of your seat for that next bit, and then bam, a random ad hits you? Or maybe you're on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, any of these, or even a website, and boom, a pop-up, an ad, something completely irrelevant happens to you. Quite annoying, isn't it? Well, that's interruption marketing, demanding attention rather than earning it. Now picture this. Instead, you go to your local coffee shop, your barista greets you by name, knows what coffee you want, and asks you how your week was going. Based off a little bit of dialogue, they can quickly suggest, hey, maybe you should have an extra shot of espresso. No pressure, no pushy sales tactics, just helpful, relevant, and personal. That's the core idea of permission marketing, a book Seth Godin wrote in 1999. Instead of forcing your way into people's attention, you earn it over time by being valuable, consistent, and trusted. But here's the question. This book is 25 years old. It was written well before social media and before most of the ways in which we market today. But does it still hold up? Is there anything relevant in the book? And that's what this episode is about. I thought a great place to start with this podcast would be is just a really high-level overview of the book, Permission Marketing by Seth Godin. This book introduces the idea that marketing should be anticipated, personal, and relevant, gaining permission rather than interrupting people. Instead of blasting ads to the masses, Seth suggests building a relationship with your audience over time. I know it doesn't sound too revolutionary today, but in 1999, that would have been very revolutionary. In the book outlines how marketers can earn trust, deliver consistent value, and use permission, consent, to create long-term customer relationships. In the rest of this episode, I'm going to cover some caveats, those things that haven't aged well, 5 insights that are still useful today, and then 3 questions you can ask to get the most from these insights. The first caveat is that this book was written in 1999. A lot has changed. Digital marketing was still in its infancy. I was only 4 years old. There was no social media, no pragmatic ads. None of that was there. So this book is written in that context. Like the Bible, you have to be aware of that so then we can take things from it rather than taking things and trying to make it say what we want it to say. So many examples and case studies in the book are outdated, more of a history lesson than more actionable advice. So while I skipped those, you could read those, but I just found that they were really, really hard to put into today's time. So while the core principles remain timeless, we do have to adapt them slightly for 2025 and beyond. The second caveat is he shares 5 levels of permission, the 5 levels of permission framework. I just feel that it's dated and it's not very useful. I believe this was Godin's attempt to try to create a category around permission marketing. So you have to have guardrails. You have to have identifiers of, hey, this is what permission marketers do. So while it was a great attempt at trying to create that, I think today the whole 5 levels of permission is useless and really probably should skip it. Another caveat is that the book underestimates the role of platforms in permission marketing. Clearly, again, in 1999, we didn't have Facebook, we didn't have all of these platforms that kind of act as an intermediary or a gatekeeper. Because truly, even on any of the social media, you don't control how many of your followers see your post. And even in email, Gmail can filter and all of that. So earning permission is critical, but the platforms that we play on do influence how well you can use it and kind of how you apply some of the lessons from the book. And then finally, the fourth caveat, the book doesn't account for the scale and speed of modern digital marketing. Obviously, in 1999, building an audience could take years. Hand raising, slow trust building, all of that. But today with viral content, AI, just wanted to add that word in there, it just happens so much quicker. Someone could post a viral video and they can gain 10,000 email signups overnight. While I still believe that building an audience, creating trust with them does take time, I don't think Seth truly understood how fast that can be in today's time where modern digital marketing is. So permission marketing still works, but the speed of execution has changed dramatically, making how you apply some of these principles different or the expectation from these insights. And then finally, number 5, I know I said finally in the last one, but number 5, the cost of attention has skyrocketed since 1999. Back in 1999, it was relatively cheap to whether get people's emails or all of that, but now with emails inboxes being flooded, ads everywhere, it's way harder to gain that attention. You have to pay more for it because everybody's fighting for it. So while the costs are rising for attention, it's still super important to gain the permission, even if it's harder to get, because you need that to stand out and always have that direct communication with your audience. So while permission could cost more to get today, it's still worthy. It's still something you should pursue, even though attention is a higher cost than it was in 1999. Now, let's discuss the 5 insights from the book, which are all things you can apply to your marketing, and wait till the end for the 3 questions to really make it more practical on how you can take these away and implement them. Insight number 1 is there's 2 types of marketing or marketers. Seth proposes there's interruption marketing and permission marketing. Interruption marketing is pretty obvious. It's traditional ads, cold outreach, pop-ups. It's grabbing attention without consent. And then permission marketing, as he defines, is anticipated, personal, and relevant interactions that people welcome. They look forward to it. How much marketing today do we look forward to? Not much. Seth describes permission and marketing as dating your customers, which I don't think does too well in today's time. I think you get canceled for that, but I think the steps of how to date your customer are still relevant today. There's 5 steps that he discusses. First, offer an incentive to get their attention. You can think of this as ebooks, all of those things that people gate. Use that attention that you've gained to educate them over time, email sequence, social media content, different ways that you can do that, and then reinforce the incentive to keep the engagement going. Number 4, offer more incentives to keep deepening the relationship. And then 5, leverage the permission to drive long-term success. Does this hold up in 2025? I think it does. As I mentioned, dating your customer probably doesn't, but I think that it takes time to build the trust, and there's a few steps in it. I think that still applies today. The core idea here is that you must provide value before asking for the sell. There's many companies who do this really well. Morning Brew gives tons of useful content before they monetize. Notion, their freemium model, deep education creates loyal users, which then eventually pay. The takeaway, the steps may look different today, but earning permission still beats forcing attention. Insight number 2 is that the customer leads the dance. Your job is to get them to raise their hand. Many marketers claim to use permission marketing. If I were to ask you, are you someone who leads with the permission first mindset? I think many would say yes, but our actions say otherwise. We gate content that isn't really valuable. We create sales first content instead of trying to help them. We avoid actually talking to customers because it just takes too much time. So even though we say we're customer led, we want permission, all of our actions undermine that. So what does real permission look like? It looks like making your best content accessible versus hiding it behind a lead form. Now, there are some pieces of content that you should put behind a lead form. Giving useful insights first, then earning the right to sell, and actually listening to your customers instead of assuming what they want. This is a tricky one because many times we listen to our customers, but whatever is the output is really just what we want at the end of the day. So we discard anything they say that doesn't prove that, and we grab everything that validates it. The best marketers truly listen to their customer and change the product, the offering, the messaging to the market versus trying to force the market to change to you. An example of this is actually from Gary Vaynerchuk's book, Jab, Jab, Right Hook. He talks about give, then ask for value. So free content on social, free ebooks, all that, and then ask once you have their emails for the sale. I'm not sure when he wrote that, but that was like 2010 or earlier. So this isn't a revolutionary concept again, but so many people say they do it, but they don't actually put it into practice. And then another example would be obviously Notion, which I talked about, but Duolingo, they really give you a lot of free content, whether it's in their app or just on social. And then when it feels natural, you can upgrade. The core takeaway here is don't push, attract with your marketing. If you're truly offering value to people, they will raise their hand when they're ready. You don't need to force them to raise their hand. So again, let the customer lead the dance. Don't force them to go where you want them to. Insight number 3 is to build trust through the frequency of helpful content. Anticipated communication builds trust over time. As Godin says in the book, build trust through frequency. Tell your story patiently to each consumer who is willing to participate in the exchange. How many times do we truly do that today? We tell our story patiently rather than grabbing anybody who looks like an ICP and yelling down their throats, this is what we are selling, buy it, buy it, buy it. And I also find just this thought that you don't need to be consistent to build a brand or to do good marketing. I think that's a huge lie because trust is only built through frequency, which is another way to just call it consistently showing up. I don't trust someone who says they're going to show up at this time and they keep coming at different times. I just don't trust them to come. That's okay if they don't want me to trust them. But if you want to get your audience to trust you, you have to build in frequency, build in consistency of your message, of your content, so it can be anticipated, they can expect it and rejoice when it comes. Now, the issue with frequency, with being consistent is a whole other podcast, but I think one of the issues, which I've actually recently posted a lot on LinkedIn about, is that we give up too soon. Brands, companies give up on their content, their messaging too soon because we get bored. We think the audience is bored and we move on, but it's really just us. Too many times we're shifting messages because we think our content is stale. We need to remember our audience doesn't consume as much of our content as we do. And repeating ourselves isn't boring, it's reinforcing the message. Until someone tells you, hey, it's boring, keep reiterating the same thing so then people can expect it. Two examples of this, I talked about Morning Brew, but they send out their emails on the same day at the same time so you can expect it and create a habit around their newsletter. And then different creators on LinkedIn and Twitter will post the same time, the same day of every week, and that just builds in this anticipation. So that I'm ready when at 9:30 I know Joanne's going to post. The takeaway, trust isn't built by posting more. It's built through consistent value delivered at expected times, being anticipated. Insight number 4, and I've seen this so much in my city of Green Bay, Wisconsin, so it might not be as prevalent wherever you're at, but the 4th insight is we still bring a traditional broadcast mindset thinking to the web. Seth is in the forefront of the web, and he's even suggesting that these broadcast companies, the way in which you did advertisements on TV, they were just bringing that right to the new internet. And I think that's just very common. We always bring old thinking to new tools, but I think it's crazy that it's still happening today. 20 plus years later, many companies still think of digital marketing as a broadcast channel, not a conversation. It's bizarre to me that we're still bringing these archaic ways of thinking to social. Some of those outdated marketing behaviors, just to get real specific, are display ads that exist only in Interrupt. I can't tell you how many times I've reported on display ads, how many impressions they got, realizing nobody clicks on them. I've never bought something from a display ad. I'm on a website just going and boom, there's a random display ad. Never works. Another is brands treating social media like a press release board instead of engaging with their audience. Exciting news, look at us, check what we got. Rarely actually engaging with their audience. So many companies do this. It's a struggle to watch them on social. And then I think another is just websites still just structured with so many pages, thinking people will actually go to all those, building your blog natively on your website rather than going to social, going to where people are to post. It's crazy that they still think in this ways that people go to websites. The website is no longer the most important person on the internet. But that's an argument that I'm making in a prediction, so maybe it will hold that websites are still relevant. But I think social, all these other places are becoming the place that you have to share your content rather than building website content strategies. A few good examples of this is Wendy's Twitter. While yes, X, they might be a little unhinged, I think they do a really great job of bringing the current way of doing social through a brand, which is really hard because there's probably so much legal, all these ways to jump through. So if you think it's hard, imagine how hard it is for Wendy's. Duolingo, amazing TikTok page. The Nutter Butter Company, I forget the name of them. They had a pretty crazy TikTok spree going. They could still be. And then another really interesting place is Reddit-driven brands. So going to Reddit to have conversations with your customers, to share thoughts, all of that, that's super nuanced. So the takeaway is that most brands still approach marketing like it's TV in the 90s. The winners embrace participation over interruption. You gain that permission through the participation, through having people engage with you, and how you do that looks very different than it did in 1999 or even 2010. The final insight here is that permission is gained, not bought or tricked. I've been in too many boardrooms having arguments with executives that you just can't put someone's email into your database and send them emails. I get that there's Zoom Info, Apollo, buying all that, but the biggest mistake I see marketers and just startups, businesses make today is that they think they can cheat their way into permission. They'll buy an email list, they'll do sneaky opt-ins and contracts, or they'll check the box. You have to uncheck it to not be a newsletter subscriber, or just misleading free trials. So thinking it's a free trial and then boom, you get hit with cancellation fees, or they don't even tell you that they're going to charge your credit card. One of Godin's quote that backs this up that I really enjoyed is that the more explicit the opt-in is, the more valuable the permission. So rather than trying to make it very hidden, you should try to make the opt-in as explicit as possible. Hey, I'm going to put your email in my newsletter. Is that okay? Yes, that's okay. Are you sure that... No, that's not the best example, but really keep making sure that when you get someone's permission, it's very explicit so they know what's coming. Too many times I've been just put on someone's email list after we've talked once, and sure, maybe I get value from it, but it's sleazy. Permission can never be hacked. It can't be tricked into being like, oh wow, how'd they get my email? I'm so excited now to be on their newsletter. Never has anyone said this. And I think there's other reasons why this is really important. I think consumers are just skeptical. So anyway, anytime you do that, you're essentially like blacklisting yourself for a very long time. If someone does that to me, I'll never buy from them. And I know I'm not unique in that. I think there's other younger buyers that are that way, where because there's so many more options. I also think there's a lot of ways that this can hurt your email sending, your email domain score, Apple mail privacy, GDPR. There's just stricter regulations around this, making it so marketers can't fake it. I love it, but it will hurt your score, your email score. I don't even know what that is, but it will hurt that over time if you just keep stealing emails, stealing permission. The takeaway is pretty clear. Attention can't be hacked. It can only be earned. If your audience isn't actively choosing to engage with you, you don't have real permission. Don't focus on how to hack it. Focus on doing something that they actively want to choose to pay attention to. Whew! With that out of the way, now we can get to the 3 questions to really bring this home, and I want you to contemplate these after the episode. Think about them long and hard. Question number 1, how is my current marketing and sales building permission with those we serve or undermining it? Am I letting the prospect, our audience, lead, or am I forceful in getting them where I want them to be? This is a really important question to ask because I think there's small, low-hanging fruit that we can instantly think of, yeah, that practice is undermining the permission that we get, the trust that we have with our audience. That one is actually increasing the permission. We're having a conversation first. So look at your own marketing and sales, because sales is a unique one because they kind of have to reach out to people and interrupt them. But still, I think there's ways in which you can have your marketing and sales work together. So you're doing more of building permission with those you serve versus undermining it and hacking it, and then eventually down the road having to pay the cost. Question number 2, how can I improve the frequency, consistency of my marketing? This is a simple but powerful lever. Find one way, just one way to increase the frequency of your content. Maybe you're posting 4 random times a week. Go down to 3 or 2 and just post on Monday, Wednesday, Friday at the same time. That's one simple way. Others would be to batch create your content. So choose a day where you create enough content for the next week so you can just ensure you're showing up every single time. So that question, feel like many people, myself included, will go away from it. I'll be like, yeah, I got it. But this question is super important. How can I improve the frequency, consistency of my marketing? How can I say the same thing in different ways over and over again? So think on that one, because I think many of us, myself included, struggle with the consistency piece. Finally, question number 3, what mental models of the internet, social media, or websites do I have that are remnants of the past that need to be updated? Do I view social as a place to broadcast versus connect and be social? Do I believe that the website needs 20 plus pages and we need to build our blog on there? Do I still use display ads or horrible creative Facebook ads and other archaic ad formats like paper and all of that just don't work? Do I need to update any of my models on how marketing is done in today that I'm bringing from the past? For many of us young people, that isn't going to be a problem, but I've worked with so many people that it's just so clear to me, but unclear to them, that they're bringing the old way of thinking to the new ways of marketing. So those 3 questions: how is my current marketing and sales building permission with those we serve or we're undermining? How can I improve the frequency, consistency of my marketing? And then what mental models of the internet, social media do I have that are remnants of the past that I need to update? So that's Permission Marketing, a book written in 1999 that I believe still has some gems for marketers in 2025. Does every part hold up? As my caveats tried to touch on, no, but the core messaging does. Marketing that earns attention beats marketing that demands it every single time. Did you enjoy this book review? This is special. I haven't done these before, but I want to do more of them in the future. So if you liked this book review, if you think it could be a cool format in the future, not just old books, new books too, let me know, because I love diving into books and I love reading them, and I might make this a monthly, bi-monthly, or quarterly thing. But before I commit to it, I want to make sure it brings value, brings progress to you. So let me know. Shoot me an email, Jordan, that's Jordano, like otter, at hey.com. So Jordano at hey.com. Let me know, did you like the format? Would you want more book reviews, more book breakdowns? And what could I do to make this even better? Seriously, I'm all ears. Bonus points if your feedback is a little brutally honest and constructive, because I think I really want to just keep improving this entire show. And I thought the book review is an interesting way that I can share things that I'm reading and break it down into a way that's accessible and useful for you. But if it's not, let me know because I'll go right back to the other content formats and continually bring you value. So that's it for today's episode. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. And I hope you come back for another episode next week. What one idea or topic of conversation stood out to you today? Write it down, share it with a friend, post on social. The main thing is take action. That's how we go from theory to mastery. We need to practice. We need to put it into practice. Thank you for listening and being here, and I hope you tune in next week.